Morning. Today is Thursday, November 15th, 2018. You're watching the Daily Mix TV by Hill Story Marketing. Hi, my name is Sean Patrick Hillman. Yeah, it's been a while since we've done a Daily Mix TV broadcast, and I do apologize for that. Thank you to everybody who wrote notes into me asking if I'm okay and telling me how much you missed the Daily Mix TV and the lessons that we have taught. So that did my heart a lot of good, and I truly appreciate it. I've been going through some difficulties this last month personally. Thankfully, that's in my rear view right now, and it's time to rock and roll. On to today's news. AB InBev and coffee maker Keurig have launched a new pod-based home cocktail machine in the U.S., allowing users to mix cocktails at the touch of a button. The DrinkWorks Home Bar by Keurig, which was developed by Keurig Dr. Pepper and AB InBev, is capable of producing cocktails, beers, and ciders through 24 different pods that contain signature blends of spirits and natural flavors, which was created by in-house mixologists. Now, the machine is very smart. It knows exactly how much water and carbonation is needed, how much of the other ingredients are going to blend, those kinds of things. A total of 15 cocktails are available at launch, including classics like the Mojito and Classic Margarita, Gin and Tonic, the Moscow Mule, and they even have a white wine peach sangria. Now, there are also two flights of beer brand pods available, an English collection by Bass and a German one by Beck's. The machine is currently only available through an early access pilot program in Missouri. Remember, AB InBev or Anheuser-Busch, their hometown is St. Louis, Missouri. So it's going to launch online later this year. Here's where the hiccup may be. Price point is $2.99. That's a lot of money for a machine like this. Now, remember last year or 2 years ago, Keurig had launched the Keurig Cold Machine in partnership with Coca-Cola. It was an absolute disaster. Extremely overpriced. I believe it was $3.49, and it underperformed from a budget point of view on every single pod. So what do I mean by that? When you do a product like Keurig, yeah, it's about the convenience, a single-serve cup of coffee, or in this case, a single-serve soda, which I believe was 8 ounces at that time. Now, it's also got to be about price parity with respect to what consumers are used to paying. So if you're paying $1.50 for a 20-ounce bottle of Diet Coke, a pod ends up costing you $2 for literally less than half of that. That doesn't make any sense. In this case, it's going to work in places like LA and New York, where your average cocktail price is $12 to $20. In a place like Kansas City, I don't know that this is going to work. They've got to get that price point per pod or the value per pod below $10 for it to really make any sense. So as an example, in Kansas, if your average cocktail is somewhere between $7 and $12 and the price point comes in at $10, well, that doesn't really work. It doesn't make any sense in that context. So let's hope that Keurig has learned their lesson of the past and that this works out for them. We'll keep an eye on it for you and report back. Now, you all know I'm not a fan of Uber. I believe they're overvalued and overrated, but there are those who live and die by that tiny car moving on the GPS map to pick them up. Well, for those folks, Uber's rolling out a frequent flyer style rewards program. It allows users to accumulate perks, encouraging consumers to not use rivals like Lyft, and getting Lyft users to defect to Uber if they're big fans. So in Uber Rewards, the way that this is going to work is it's meant to unify all of Uber's business units. So for someone like me, I use Uber Eats with some frequency. Not often, but with some. I don't use the rideshare service all that often, though. Probably once a month, if that. Now, if you're a Uber Eats user, it's fantastic because you get 1 point per dollar spent. That's also for Uber Pool and Uber Express. You get 2 points if you use Uber X, Uber XL, and Uber Select, and then 3 points for every dollar on Uber Black and Black SUV. So you're going to see those points start to stack up. And personally, I think that it's a smart move for them. They're not a stupid company, but they are greedy. That's what bothers me about Uber. And this really is the latest consumer-centric initiative from Uber ahead of next year's alleged IPO. I say alleged because they've been threatening to do this for a long time. Now, remember, yesterday, Uber announced a loss of over $1 billion in its latest quarterlies because bookings are slowing. Personally, I got a serious problem with that. If you're losing $1 billion a quarter, $333 million a month, that's a lot of money. And when you're going out into the public markets, yeah, you've got a lot of people who are fans of Uber. I don't know that it's a smart move to go public just yet. They're saying that they're going to go public in the first half of 19. So we're going to watch what's going to happen. We'll keep an eye on it for you. Personally, I'd rather rely on a good old-fashioned New York City yellow cab. Now, speaking of living in New York, if you live here, you're all too well aware of the decision by Governor Andrew Cuomo and Mayor Bill de Blasio to give Amazon about $3 billion in incentives to have chosen New York as its second HQ2 location. Remember, they split it between Virginia and New York. It was going to be 50,000 employees and a lot of money in development dollars that was going to go to one city. So instead, Amazon chose two. Needless to say, in this era of social unrest and protests and political correctness on steroids, there was a massive protest downtown yesterday with people outraged by the state and city giving the richest man in the world, that being Jeff Bezos, a $3 billion windfall. Now, on the other side of that argument, Amazon claims its headquarters decisions weren't swayed by the more than $3 billion in tax breaks and other sweeteners because the deals were relatively modest compared to what else was put on the table. So rumor has it Newark was ready to spend $8 billion to get Amazon in, and other markets $7 billion and so on. So in this case, Amazon's going to get $1.5 billion in tax credits from the state, another $1.2 billion in breaks from the city, and then $573 million from Virginia. Economists have said that the subsidies and giveaways weren't necessary, given the final selections after a year-long process. Now, the deal in New York includes creating a private helipad on site or nearby the Long Island City headquarters, a cost that the city would be on the hook for, as well as the state agreeing to circumvent city zoning requirements to build the sprawling new complex. That's got a lot of people in an uproar. Cuomo and de Blasio are claiming that New York's going to reap $9 for every tax dollar incentive. So what does that mean? In other words, New York is going to get $27 billion in taxes for this investment. Now, despite that, the city council and the newly elected state senate are looking at their legal options to squash this. Look, at the end of the day, Cuomo and de Blasio have no business doing this when, frankly, there are so many other budgetary and logistical challenges in New York. When you factor in that our infrastructure is in dire straits, children are failing in schools, and homelessness is through the roof, surely there's a better way to spend $3 billion we don't have. Now, for this week's Throwback Thursday, 33 years ago this week, one of the most successful toys in history launched to sell out crowds in toy stores across the globe.
There are lots of teddy bears, but only one Teddy Ruxpin.
Hi, my name is Teddy Ruxpin.
Hi, Teddy.
Your friend is what I'd like to
He's a
be.
bird. How does he do that? He's a magic bear.
One day, we found an old treasure map. The treasure was supposed to be
my friend Teddy Ruxpin.
Teddy Ruxpin comes with storybook and cassette. Other stories sold separately.
God, Teddy Ruxpin. You know, it's so funny when they launched it, when they launched it in the 80s, it was at a time where robotics and science fiction and fantasy were going through the roof in the pop culture lexicon and in trend. Now, the interesting part about this is that despite its success, the company that owned Teddy Ruxpin, Worlds of Wonder, ended up bankrupting 5 years later in 1990. Hasbro bought off all their holdings in a liquidation sale. Then 5 years after that, it landed at Yes Entertainment, then Backpack Toys. Finally, last year, Wicked Cool Toys acquired Teddy Ruxpin, and they announced a partnership with Jim Henson Entertainment to create a new animated series and toy line for the legendary talking bear. So I'm looking forward to a new generation of children being taught by Teddy Ruxpin. I think that it's a very worthwhile proposition, and I think it's a great toy. So hopefully there's going to be a lot more content coming down the pipe. I'm excited to see what Jim Henson Entertainment and Wicked Cool is going to do with the series. My name is Sean Patrick Hillman. I'm the CEO of Hill Story Marketing. I'm also the editor-in-chief of the Daily Mix TV. Thanks for watching, guys. We truly appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow.